Hello and welcome to this lecture. It's going to be about forecasting. Let's first define forecasting. Forecasting is the process of predicting what will happen in the future. Now, how do I know? Based on what? It's based on some historical data, previous data that I have, and I can anticipate out of those data that what might happen in the future using some mathematical models and equations. And sometimes it's based on experience, intuition of the project manager, based on his experience, and sometimes it is a combination of both the mathematical models and intuition and experience. Now, the purpose of making forecasts is to use it as input into some decision-making processes, such as what? Let's say in production. What's the thing that I need to forecast? It is the demand in the future. Let's say that I made a forecast and I expected that I'm gonna sell 100 units of my product. This is the forecast. What is the decision? The decision is going to be that I need to manufacture 100 units. This means that I'm gonna buy the proper raw material required and know how much should be stacked in inventory. So based on this forecast, we have so many decisions related to the forecast. Now, what happens if the forecast was accurate? The demand that I forecasted was 100 units, and I had a demand of actually 100 units. This means that I was able to sell my product to the customers. I fulfilled the demand. This means that I got a profit. Now, let's say in the opposite case, what if the forecast was not accurate? Let's say the forecast gave me 100 units, but instead I had a demand of 50 units. This means that I manufactured extra parts. I made more preparations and I stacked the finished products in inventory. Maybe I got more workers to help me with this manufacturing. So I paid huge amounts of money. On the opposite case, if the forecasted demand was 100 units and the demand was actually 200 units, this means that I had a shortage. I might be late in fulfilling the demand of my customers. This means that I might lose them and lose my goodwill and my reputation in the market. So that's why it's very important to have accurate forecasts. Now, the forecast is classified by the time horizon that it covers. The first one is the short range forecast, which is up to a 3-month period. In this period, what do we do? What do we forecast? We forecast the purchases, the raw materials, the quantity of the raw material that I need to get, workforce level, how many employees should I hire for the production line in order to fulfill the orders that I will have, how will I schedule the jobs, which job should be fulfilled first, is it the longest one, the shortest, the earliest one? So these are the things that we forecast in the short range. With the medium range, which is 3 months to 3 years, we plan the sales. Do we have to invade new markets in order to expand the sales? We have also the long range forecast, 3 years and above. Here, what do I forecast? I forecast things related to, let's say, expansions and facility location. Let's say, for example, I want to build a new facility. Now, what will be the size of this new facility? Is it going to be small, medium, large? Of course, with respect to the output of it. If I didn't have an accurate forecast, I would not be able to decide what will be the size of the facility. What if I build a large facility and I didn't have enough sales, so I will be building a large facility and this will cost me huge losses. So these are the types of forecasts according to the time horizon. We have 2 approaches for the forecast. It can be done using the qualitative or the quantitative method. With the qualitative method, it is done based on the intuition or the experience of the manager, and usually it's used when we have little or no data And this is the case when we are introducing new products or new technology. So the situation is vague. It's not clear whether the customers will like this new product, will they buy it or not. Such as when they were manufacturing the VR technology, they had little information about the forecast. So this was done using the qualitative method. With respect to the quantitative, it involves mathematical equations and models, and we can use it when the situation is stable and we have enough historical and past data. I know the forecast, the previous forecast and the previous demand of this current product. It is already existing product, and the technology is not new, so I can easily do the forecasting. Let's say we are forecasting the sales of television. I know the past data. I know for the last 10 years what was the demand, how did the customers comment on this product, so I take all these into consideration. So the situation is not vague. So here, when I have enough information, it's better to use the quantitative methods using mathematical models and techniques. We said that sometimes the situation is vague, so we have to use the qualitative methods. There are some things that can be done in order to help or assist managers do the forecast, such as making a jury of executive opinions. In this case, small group of high-level managers will do some meetings. Each one will give his opinion based on his knowledge of the market and past experience. So they will join their experiences and get an opinion regarding the forecast. Or we can do some meetings and include in the meetings the sales force, people who are working as the salesperson, because they are directly involved with the customers, so they might have an opinion, will the customers like this new product or not. And sometimes we do some consumer market surveys. You see, sometimes you get some phone calls, people are asking you if there's a specific product that has those specifications and characteristics, will you care to try it? Or sometimes you see them in the supermarket trying to give you an idea about a new product. Sometimes you meet people who are filling some questionnaires about your opinions about a certain product. Would you like to add some features to enhance it, and so on. So they do consumer surveys in order to ask the consumer about his opinion, whether by phone interviews or by questionnaires. With respect to the quantitative approaches, we have two classifications. We have the time series models and the associative models. Now, the time series models include several methods. These are methods that we use mathematical equations and calculations. Now, you will take them in more details when you take the course of Production Operations Management in the third year. But the only thing that you need to know for this at this time, the difference between the time series and the associative model is that the time series model just tell you what happened in the past. So it's related to time. It depends on previous historical data. Okay, it just tell you based on the history what happened in the past. Now, with respect to the associative models, it can tell you why things happened in that way. Okay, time series will tell you what happened. Associative model will tell you why did this happen. Okay, so in this lecture we're gonna study the linear regression model as part of the associative models. With respect to the rest of the time series models, you take them in more details in the future. The linear regression is used when we have past historical data about the demand, and when we know the relationship between the factors included, because in the linear regressions we will have two variables, one as referred to as the dependent variable and one will be referred to as the independent variable, and we will be using this equation y equals a plus bx. So you see here in this equation, y will be the dependent variable. Let's say here it is the sales, and x will be the independent variable. You see the relationship is between two variables. It's not related to time, as with the situation with the time series model. The time series model, I will say that y will be the demand and x is time. What was the demand in last year? What will be the demand this year? So it's related to time. Now with the linear regression, x will be an independent variable. Here in this case, I took the example of advertising. I will see if this is advertising, the independent variable. If I made, let's say, 3 advertisements this month, what will be the dependent variable, which is here the sales? Will the sales increase? What if, let's say, I made one advertisement only this month? So what will be the sales? So you see, sales is dependent on the advertisement, not the time. So this is how we look at the linear regression models. We have the relationship between two variables, dependent and independent. Now, using this linear regression, we will solve some exercises to see how will be the demand.